What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video. Hope you're ready to flex those brain muscles. First of all, let me just say thank you to Nick from The Viewer's Voice for giving me a shout out. I gained quite a few new subscribers, so thank you, Nick, and thank you to everyone who's subscribed. Since I assume that a lot of y'all who subscribe don't necessarily consider yourselves to be math people, I thought a good video topic would to be something that could relate to everybody, not just math people. So I thought I'll make a video on some basic logic. And from what I've seen on social media lately, seems like a lot of people may need a lesson in basic logic. No shade, just saying. So I figured I'd make a video on logic and we'll talk about this. And the cool thing is this is actually very much so math. This is how the stuff we know in math today was formed, is from some basic definitions, little bits of understanding, and we use logic and deductive reasoning to build math into what it is today. So very important stuff to understand this. And the cool thing about this, again, is that it applies to other areas outside of math. If you get good at math and get good at using logic and deductive reasoning to come to conclusions, you can be a good lawyer, you can be a good politician, you can be good at just arguing with your friends in the car, right? I do it all the time. I poke holes in my friends' arguments all the time because I know the basics of logic, and I know when logic is flawed, it's easy to see it, and I poke holes in it and the whole house burns down, right? I poke holes in their foundation and it crumbles. So that's what we're gonna do here, is talk about propositional logic. So a proposition, when I learned this, I learned it as a statement, but when I check the textbooks, they call it proposition. Same thing, statement, proposition. You may even hear a claim, okay, but I'm gonna use proposition. A proposition is a declarative sentence that is either true or false. So it can be given a true or false value, all right? So true or false sentence. Let's look at some examples. Austin is the capital of Texas. This is a declarative sentence, and it is true. Austin is the capital of Texas. So I'm gonna write a T here for true. 1 is less than 5. This is a declarative sentence, and it is, again, true. 1 is less than 5. 7 plus 2 equals 9. That is a true declarative sentence. The U.S. population is 1 billion. I don't know exactly the U.S. population, but I know it's not 1 billion. So this is a declarative sentence, but it is false. So I'm going to put an F here for false. 3 plus 5 equals 2. 3 plus 5 equals 8, not 2, right? So this is a claim, this is a declarative sentence, but it is false. So let's look at some sentences that are not propositions, just so we get good at kind of understanding and being able to identify the difference. All right, so let's look at these examples. What time is it? Is this a proposition? No, it's not, right? It's not a declarative sentence. It can't be given a true or false value. It's not a proposition. So not a proposition. That's nap. That's what we're going to use for not a proposition. Make me a sandwich. Is this a proposition? No, right? It's a demand. It's a exclamation, I think is what we call it. But it's definitely not a proposition. So nap time, not a proposition. 7x equals 21. This is where it gets tricky, right? Because this is sort of a declarative sentence. We're declaring that 7x equals 21. But if this is 7 times some number equals 21, do we know if this is true or false? We don't, right? It depends on what x is, whether this is true or false. So it is sort of a declarative sentence, but it cannot be assigned a truth value, therefore not a proposition. And for the same reason, this last one will not be a proposition. X is less than 12. We don't know if that's true or false. Depends on what x is, right? Not a proposition. So now let's look into some logical operators. All right, so the first logical operator we're going to look at is called the negation operator. So if we let P be a proposition, the negation of P denoted by this little symbol in front of the P. This is the negation of P. Some people use these symbols as well. There are a few that are commonly used. This is the one I learned, and this is the one I'll use. So just a heads up, if you use one of these, I'm going to use this for all my videos. So this is the statement that it is not the case that P, okay? So in other words, I think of this as kind of the opposite. We are negating this statement. Okay, so let's look at an example. Austin is the capital of Texas. That is our statement P, and our statement Q is 3 plus 5 equals 2. We've already seen these two statements before. We know they're statements. We know that P, in fact, is true. It's a true statement. And Q is, in fact, false. All right, so let's find the negation of each of these. So what happens when we apply the negation operator to P? That's one way of thinking of it. Another way of thinking of it is taking the negation of P, or what is the negation of P, right? So that's like saying it is not the case that Austin is the capital of Texas. So this is a good like general phrase to put in front that will get you to the answer, but you almost always have to simplify the wording a bit. It is not the case that Austin is the capital of Texas. Nobody would say that. So what we can just say is that Austin is not the capital of Texas, and that would be the negation of P, okay? All right, so what about the negation of Q? So our statement Q is 3 plus 5 equals 2. How do we negate this? How do we say it's not the case that 3 plus 5 equals 2? Well, we can simply just write it out as 3 plus 5 does not equal 2. So we use this symbol to denote does not equal, by the way, if you've never seen this before. But let's notice what happened to the truth value when we negated P and when we negated Q. So we applied the negation operator to P, which was a true statement, and when we did that, it became what? Austin is not the capital of Texas. That is now a false statement, right? So we applied the negation operator to a true statement and got a false statement. When we applied the negation operator to a false statement, we got a true statement, right? 3 plus 5 equals 8, which is not equal to 2. This is true, okay? So that's the pattern we notice. When we negate a true statement, it becomes false. When we negate a false statement, it becomes true. So this is going to bring us to our first truth table we're going to build. All right, so this is what we call a truth table. In this P column, we have all the possible values for P. So P can either be true or false. We already know it's a proposition, so it's either true or false. And in the second column are the corresponding values for the negation of P. So when P is true, the negation of P is false. When P is false, the negation of P is true. So this is by far the simplest truth table we're going to see. They do get a lot more complex, more complicated, but this is our first truth table I've shown on this channel. So let's go ahead and take a moment to enjoy and embrace the first truth table on my channel. It smells like truth. All right, we still got more logical operators. So let's suppose P and Q are propositions. So then the conjunction of P and Q, denoted by P with this little upward pointed arrow looking thing, Q, is the proposition P and Q. The disjunction of P and Q, denoted by P and this downward pointed arrow thing, is the proposition P or Q, okay? And let me just say a few things about this. First of all, whether you know conjunction or disjunction, I mean, I guess that depends on your professor. I never personally learned these words. If I did, I forgot them very quickly. I just refer to this as P and Q and P or Q. So if I see this, you know, on a piece of paper and I'm doing math, I read it out loud as P and Q, P or Q. I call this the and operator and this the or. That's just me personally. I don't use conjunction or disjunction. So if you don't like those words, don't use them. Unless your professor really wants you to, then do use them, okay? Another thing. Let's notice that it says here, is the proposition. That means that this P and Q thing is a proposition. And we call this a compound proposition because it's made up of two other propositions, P and Q. So that's a cool way we can use logical operators to sort of connect propositions into these bigger, more complicated propositions, which I'm sure you'll see more of if you're taking a discrete math course. You'll see all kinds of fun stuff in that class. So the conjunction of P and Q denoted by this is the proposition P and Q. So this, again, is a proposition. So it does have a truth value, true or false, this P and Q, which we'll get to in a minute. So does this P or Q. So consider these statements P and Q. So P is the statement, is the proposition. Sorry, I learned statement, so I always want to say statement. But proposition, it is raining outside. Okay, so this is a declarative sentence and it has either a true or false value. In my case, it is false right now. It's not raining. And this proposition Q, the temperature outside is 60 degrees, which is again false in my case. It's much warmer than that. So my challenge, my exercise for the viewer, pull out a pencil and paper and see if you can write out P and Q and P or Q. And again, these will both be statements. They will be compound statements, propositions, made up of the propositions P and Q. So see if you can pull out a pencil and paper and do that, and pause the video and I'll go ahead and start back up in just a second. All right, so go ahead and check your work. We have P and Q. This is the conjunction of P and Q. It is raining outside and the temperature is 60 degrees. P or Q, this is the disjunction of P and Q. It is raining outside or the temperature is 60 degrees. So again, this is the English language. There's a bunch of different ways you can say this same thing, but as long as you're pretty close to what this is, and as long as you understand the idea of and or, both still propositions made up of these other propositions. And again, since these are propositions still, they have a true or false value. They're either true or false. So that brings us to the truth table. Let's go and look at the truth table for these. All right, so let's finish off this video by building the truth table for both the conjunction and disjunction. So the first thing you may notice is that in this truth table, we have 4 rows. So why is that? Why do we have 4 rows? Well, with the conjunction and disjunction, remember, these are what we call compound propositions, which means they are propositions made up of other propositions, in this case, P and Q, right? And that means the truth value for these propositions depends on P and Q. So we need to consider all the possible combinations for the truth values of P and Q, which happens to be 4 combinations. So they can both be true. One can be true and one can be false, which gives us 2 possibilities. Or they can both be false. So that's why we have 4 rows on this table. So let's see if we can start filling this out. And as we're going through this, we're going to think back to our example of P being it is raining outside and Q being it is 60 degrees, and use that to sort of reference and think about, is this true, is this false kind of thing. So if I tell you it's raining outside, and I also tell you it is 60 degrees outside, and then I tell you it's raining and 60 degrees outside, am I lying? I'm not lying, right? I'm telling the truth, which means that P and Q is true when both P and Q are true, right? And this column is usually not too bad for students. This is usually actually pretty easy. The or column is what tends to give students trouble. And that is often a good way of thinking about it, and that's how a lot of students are successful in thinking about these, whether they're true or false, is you say the statements, and then you say the statement you're trying to find out if it's true or false, and you think, okay, if I said this, given this information, would I be lying, right? And if the answer is yes, then the statement is false. If it's no, then the statement is true. So that's a good way. A lot of students have success with that, with understanding how to build this truth table. They say the statement out loud, given the information, would I be lying, right? That's what I just did. So given that it's raining outside and it's not 60 degrees, if I told you it's raining and 60 degrees, would I be lying? Yes, because it's not 60 degrees, right? So this one is false, as well as the third row by the same logic, right? If they're both false, then clearly this is false as well. So for the and, for the conjunction to be true, both P and Q have to be true. So that's a good way to kind of remember this, is that this conjunction, this P and Q, is only true when both P and Q are true, right? Not too bad, but this or is what gives us trouble. Because look at this first row. Both P and Q are true, right? So it's raining outside. It's 60 degrees outside. So what if I said it's raining outside or it's 60 degrees outside? First instinct for most people is to say false, right? Because it's both. And when we use the English language and we use the word or, we usually use what's called an exclusive or. Meaning if I say, I'm gonna go to the gym or I'm gonna watch a movie, I mean that I'm either going to the gym or I'm going to watch a movie, not both, right? But in math, we use something called an inclusive or, which means that I could go to the gym, I could watch a movie, or I could do both. All 3 of those cases would be true. So that's what's tricky. It's always an inclusive or when we are talking about mathematics, unless it's specified otherwise, all right? So since this is an inclusive or, if both P and Q are true, then my or statement is true, then P or Q is true as well. So that's the tricky part. Other than that, the rest of the table isn't too bad. That's the one tricky spot in this table where a lot of students are tempted to put false, and that's simply because the way we speak the English language, right, kind of goes a little bit against this. So that one case is a case where it doesn't directly necessarily translate to English. You just have to remember that. Inclusive or, okay? So let's think about when this or statement is true. Both can be true, or we could just have one true, right? If I tell you I'm either going to the gym or to watch a movie, and I go to the gym, I wasn't lying. I did one of those, right? So both this second and third row are both true values. So true, true. This last row, they're both false. I didn't do either of those things, right? False. And I know I said we were sticking to the example of, you know, raining and 60 degrees. I kind of veered off. I apologize. But hopefully that makes sense. So a good way to think of P and Q, of this conjunction, is that P and Q is only true when both P and Q are true. And a good way to think of this disjunction, right, this P or Q, is that P or Q is only false when both P and Q are false, all right? So hopefully that makes sense. And I do have a quick exercise for the viewer. I challenge you to extend the truth table to include the negation of both of these. So the negation of P and Q, as well as the negation of P or Q. See if you can do that. Let me know in the comments what you get, if you get an answer. But again, thank you for watching. Hopefully this video helped. If it did, make sure to hit like. Leave any comments, questions, suggestions, all that thing below. Make sure to hit subscribe, but most importantly, keep flexing those brain muscles. I'll see you on the next video.